Hi, welcome to High Road. My name's Andrew, and in today's video you're going to learn how to play an E minor chord. But if you want the quick version, here it is. Alright, in case you want to jump ahead, this video is going to cover the following 4 topics. What notes is an E minor chord made from? How to read it from a chord diagram? How to actually play it? And some advanced techniques to get your E minor chord to sound as good as it can possibly sound. So first of all, what notes is an E minor chord made from? Well, it's made from the notes E, G, and B. So on a guitar that would look like this. E, B, another E, G, another B, and another E. So a chord diagram is a picture of your guitar looking from this angle. The vertical lines are the strings, and the horizontal lines are the frets. The double line at the top is the nut. And by the way, on guitar we number the fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. If you play piano, that can be confusing because on piano, thumb is 1, but not on guitar. Lastly, at the top of the chord diagram you'll see circles and crosses. Circles indicate open strings, which are supposed to just ring freely, and the crosses are strings that you should not play. You can either mute them or just not hit them. Now when you're interpreting a chord diagram, you've got to learn how to flip that image around in your mind the way you see it when you're playing. So this is what you see on the diagram, but this is what you see when you look down at your guitar. So you have to learn to actually flip that around mentally, and you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. Let me show you how to play an E minor chord. You take finger 2 and you put it on fret 2 of string 5. Then you take finger 3 and you put that on fret 2 of string 4. And that's it, only 2 fingers. And then you can strum all 6 strings. So let's talk about some advanced techniques that you can do to get the best sound out of your E minor chord. First thing is to make sure that your fingers are up on their tips and that you're as close to the frets as you can possibly be. When you're as close to the frets as possible, you don't have to press as hard and you tend to get a better sound. Now it's not really possible to get finger 2 right up behind the fret because it's jammed up against finger 3, but that's okay. As long as you press nice and firmly, you should still get a good sound and it should be fine. Next thing is to push your hand as far forward as you possibly can to get those fingers up on their fingertips. Beginners are sometimes encouraged to have a grip like this, where there's a lot of space below the neck and their hand drops away from below the neck. Nothing wrong with that, it's more of a classical guitar technique, to be honest. I would recommend that you just keep a little bit of gentle contact with the bottom of the neck and keep your hand nice and far forward, and that's fine. Probably the last thing to mention here is strumming. Even if you get everything right with your left hand, if you're not strumming well, you'll still get a bad sound. So for instance, a lot of beginners tend to hit the bass strings very heavily for some reason. And this is what that sounds like. This is what it should sound like. So to do that, you have to hit all the strings in a balanced way. So I recommend that you avoid strumming from the elbow because that creates a slicing motion and you're more likely to hit the bass strings heavily when you do that. I recommend that you strum from the wrist using a curved motion, and when you do that, you're more likely to get a balanced sound. I want to mention as well that there is an alternative fingering for this. Instead of using fingers 2 and 3, you can use fingers 1 and 2 for the same thing. And that's how you play an E minor chord.